Hey y'all, welcome back to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney, and on this episode, I'm joined by Caleb Lee Hutchinson. Caleb's one of these young, rising country songwriters to keep an eye on. He released an excellent EP back in September called Slot Machine Syndrome. It was produced by Brent Cobb, and as you would expect, it's a real keeper. If you haven't checked it out yet, go give it a listen. For being just 5 songs long, he does cover a lot of territory. That first song, it's called Who I Am. It's kind of Caleb's unofficial artist statement, if you will. It harkens back to a little bit of that outlaw movement. And of course, when someone like Brent Cobb is involved, you get these real rootsy country down home moods and feelings. And so there's plenty of that on this EP as well. And when you have a booming country southern drawl like Caleb, you utilize it. So there's some really powerful country crooning moments as well. He's been living in Nashville for a minute now, and you can tell he's finding his camp of like-minded folks who want to write country songs with narrative, soul, and meaning and depth. Hell, as I've mentioned a few times, Brent Cobb, he produced the latest project. We talk about navigating Nashville songwriter rooms, falling in love with country music that has that depth and emotional weight, how folks like Brent Cobb have been mentoring voices, and of course, we do a good amount of dissecting the songs of Slot Machine Syndrome. Alright, just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. I'll make it super quick. 1. The Lubbock Way, my debut book, is out and available for order. This first edition of the book has been going really quick, so be sure to get yourself a copy. I say first edition because this first one, I only printed 806 copies. They're all numbered, and of course, 806 is the nod to the area code in which the Panhandle is located. The Lubbock Way is about a small, bustling window of time here in Lubbock, where artists like Flatland Cavalry, Randall King, and Red Shahan, they're all grinding away, making names for themselves. Folks like William Clark Green and Josh Abbott, they were adjusting to larger, bigger circles, and hardcore troubadours like Brandon Adams, Charlie Stout, and Wade Parks, they were still guiding the way of the Lubbock songwriter. It's currently in the New Slang merch store. Also there are t-shirts, koozies, coffee mugs, and a bunch of other stuff that you can order and hopefully dig. We'll be back to regular scheduling over here at New Slang, which means 2 episodes a week for the most part. I have a bunch of great ones in the can and on the docket, which means if this is your first time listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and essentially anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. For even more New Slang content, go give a like, follow, etc. on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. 3, be sure to also check out our presenting partners over at Desert Door and the Blue Light Live. I'm doing these next couple of episodes ad-free, so go give them some love by giving them a like and follow as well. And 4, all those links that I've just mentioned, they will be in the show notes. All right, let's get on into it. Here is Caleb Lee Hutchinson.
Right on, man. Yeah, I'll try to not say anything incriminating, but I won't overthink it.
Yeah, that's the don't overthink it. Yeah, just the free flow. Just let it all out here.
I got you, baby. I'm loosey goosey. We're all good.
Well, yeah. I guess like I always kind of start these off with what you just released. You just released a new EP just a couple of weeks back, and yeah. I mean this new project right here. I think like let's just start off with the fact that you worked with Brent Cobb on it as far as him being the producer. I know you guys are both Georgia guys, but what's the how did you end up meeting Brent and like end up him being kind of the guy that you wanted to work with as far as him, taking the producing lead on the project?
Yeah, man, I met Brent just kind of by luck and happenstance, and not being afraid to ask for unrealistic things. Like when I first moved to Nashville, realized we both belonged to like the same management company. And so I just told them that I wanted to write with Brent Cobb, and that he was like one of my favorite writers ever. And, then one day I got the faithful email. We were going to do it. And dude, it was just crazy. I've been a fan of Brent for a long time, and like I was singing that dude's songs in high school, so it was pretty surreal for me. And like I met him and probably embarrassed myself, but you know, he just kind of is how everyone would assume he is. He's real laid back, and he and I got along really well. Like we first met up to write and everything, but we probably spent an hour or two even just kind of sitting around and talking about music. And you know, I'm not good at many things. I don't know many things, but I know like a stupid amount about music. So I think that was enough for him to, you know, be willing to at least be able to buy into the idea that I know what I'm talking about a little bit. And, you know, I saved up my best ideas and tricked him into thinking that I know how to write a song. And, you know, the rest is history. And then we started wrote a couple more times, and he's like, dude, how many songs do you need? I'm like, I got plenty. I just need someone to produce them for me. I said, you know, you feel free to do it anytime. Just kind of joking because he hadn't done it beforehand. He's like, yeah, man, I'm down. And yeah, I mean, it was really just kind of, I didn't know. He said it. I wasn't sure if he was real about it or not. And then they reached out and said, you know what, when you want to do it. And I really just felt super honored because, you know, I was his first production thing, you know, and you never forget your first. No one can take that away from me.
Yeah, that's so interesting right there as far as, you know, as you kind of said right there, you just ask, you know, ask people. The worst that can be said is no, or just, you know, ignored. And that's, you know, there's that outside chance, that chance of them saying, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, let's do it. And, you know, that's the way I kind of feel whenever, you know, as a journalist who's, you know, looking to do interviews, a lot of times it's like blind emails to people. And like the worst they can do is just say no. And if you don't send it, you're already saying no to yourself. So,
or if you tweet about Jason is and try to get him on you.
Oh, I know. That's the there's a couple people who took that the wrong way, like that I was actually like I was actually not a fan of Jason.
But whatever works, you know, if you got to start a war, then start it.
Yeah.
One thing is for certain, he is on Twitter. I don't know of a better medium to reach out to him.
Yeah, there is like I have, and this is probably something that no one really ever actually knows. I have like DM'd back and forth with him a few times, and actually do have his email. But it's one of those like where I'm like, I don't know if I should reach out to him. I'll go the right route, but you know, if we need to.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. It's funny, dude, because like I got people like even Brent, you know, like I consider him a friend. He considers me a friend. I still get nervous like reaching out to him. Like he'll call me and it'll be real casual, and I'm like, oh my God, Brent Cobb's calling me.
Yeah, that's it's almost like the time that you're away from someone like that who, you know, they respect you and you know that they enjoy your company and all that kind of stuff. But the time that you're away, it's like you're just like second guessing how you get back into that spot where you're in the same room. You know what I mean? Because you feel like there's that little bit of like, oh man, am I just gonna be bothering them? Am I just an annoyance? Am I that dude that he kind of goes like whenever, you know, your name pops up and you know he's in front of people and he goes, oh God, this guy's calling me again or so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have to like work past all that to realize that that's not typically the case.
Yeah, there's the other side of it. I mean, I'm sure there's many relationships out there and friendships that could have been a lot stronger, but somebody was like, oh, I don't want to reach out to him. I don't want to annoy him. The other guy's thinking, well, this guy never reaches out to me, so he must not like me.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of power in not being too worried about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like asking for stuff like, hey, I want to write with Brent Cobb, and you know, going, hey, I'm going to call him. Like he gave me his number, if he don't regret it now, we'll make it happen. We'll make him regret it later.
Well, I was going to ask that right there. Is it easier to go into a write, maybe like not knowing who that other person is, not knowing, like not being super incredibly familiar with their catalog, or is it easier kind of, you know, writing with someone who you're familiar with, but like, you know, you're maybe a little bit nervous beforehand, but as you kind of said, you were kind of collecting all your good ideas to approach him with.
Yeah, I think it depends how you want to look at it. Like I knew the type of song that I wanted to write with Brent Cobb, you know, and like there's a song on there I wrote with Trey Hensley. And like I've been a massive fan of Trey for a long time, so I knew that I wanted like a really cool, you know, something I could hear him like flat pick on. But you know, I've gone into writes with people where I didn't know what their style was, what their whole vibe was, and we made something really cool. But you know, it's a trade-off, because there's been lots of times where, you know, they might give me a Google or whatever and just kind of assume that I'm gonna, you know, make a certain type of music. And I'm like, hey, actually, this is the kind of stuff I like. These are my influences. It's a lot easier. Arguably, it's a lot easier writing with people when you know you kind of have shared interests and opinions and tastes. With that being said, I've wrote with dudes where they don't typically write the kind of song that we've written together, and I've loved it, you know? So I think it just depends.
Yeah. I think like the co-writing thing is so interesting because as I've told a few people, is like, you know, especially when it's a situation where you maybe casually know each other, it's like the quickest way to like make, I guess, like a friendship or a bond at least, because you're typically going over, you know, really, really intimate details about life. And you're kind of like, you know, pouring out all these secrets and, you know, what your real thoughts on stuff. And you may do that over the course of 2 hours that would maybe a regular organic friendship would take, you know, weeks or months to even get to that subject. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I think like being not forced, but having to co-write and, you know, write with people on a personal level has made me, you have to get more comfortable being vulnerable with people. And that definitely wasn't something I was super into beforehand. You know, I kind of kept my, you know, what I thought were my deep thoughts to myself and just kind of joked around with everybody else. But, you know, you definitely have to get vulnerable with people if you're doing it correctly, you know. Or you can just go in there and go, you know, I really like beer. We should do another song about that. That's a little hard, probably.
What the world needs now is just one more song about beer. Yeah. Just the
yeah, man. It's about time someone does it, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Next record, just, you know, 10 beer songs.
I mean, plenty of people do that right now, unironically. It works.
Yeah. Well, you know, like this EP here.
I enjoy a brew.
What was that?
I said I enjoy a brew.
Yeah, as do I. Yeah. I mean, it's always, what I always kind of say is it's time and place, right? There's a song works depending on the place and the time. And, you know, as far as like, of course, I love songs that are what I think most would consider highbrow, you know, some deep stuff. But, you know, I think all of us need just like that Bud Light every once in a while. You know?
Yeah.
You can't be drinking IPAs every fucking day. And I'm not really an IPA guy, but you know what I'm saying.
You can't listen, come back to our boy Isbell, you can't listen to Elephant on a pontoon boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go on a fishing trip and listen to Last of My Kind. It'll be, or you can just cry into the lake, I guess. Which, don't get me wrong, half the reason I listen to music is to cry. Mm-hmm. You know, it's that in the notebook that keep me grounded emotionally. You know, but I agree, man. I don't hate on anything at all. Like I think everything, if it has an audience and like people are getting something out of it, I respect it. With that being said, I've definitely walked into one too many co-writes where they're like, I got this crazy idea. Picture a small town. I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's really creative. If I don't tell them how small my town is, how will they know?
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
Well, I always love everyone's definition of what a small town is too, because I feel like I grew up in a small town and that was like 8,000. But
Yeah,
I got a buddy who, like, I grew up in a small town and I graduated with 5 people, and you're like, okay, well, that's actually real small. Okay.
yeah, man. It's like I grew up, kind of what is now technically like a suburb of Atlanta. But like as a kid, it was so much smaller than it is now. And even now, like when I go home, I just kind of walk around going, "Who are these people?" So I kind of got to see it all change, which is like cool and a little bit sad. But yeah, man, it's like my girlfriend, same thing. Like I think most of the people I went to high school with consider it to be like small town, and everybody like we all went to school with each other, elementary through high school and everything. And then my girlfriend graduated with like 15 people, and but she's from the Midwest, and her whole town was kind of just like within so many blocks. We're all kind of spread out down here.
Mm-hmm. You know what's weird about the towns that blow up and are getting so many more people is, like, I'm not against that, obviously, but what I hate is that when they grow so fast, like, it's all just the same generic fronts. It's all like the same Pizza Hut and Dollar General and Walmart, and it just all looks the same. Like, if you could like take all those buildings and put them out here in Texas, and you couldn't tell the difference.
That's how you know it's coming. They start shutting down the Piggly Wigglies, and then where once was an open field, there's now a Dollar General, and that's when you know a storm's coming.
Yeah,
I don't know how random Dollar Generals have just popped up in what used to be fields.
Yeah, that's how it is out here in Lubbock, where, like, there's a bunch of cotton fields all around Lubbock, and before there's the new neighborhood development, before there's like any kind of, it can be like a dirt road, and then like all of a sudden there'll be a Dollar General there one day, and you're like, okay, well,
yeah, man,
here's where the city's going.
But now you got a place to shop, so there you go.
Yeah, I will say though, I not to go off too far on this Dollar General story.
Oh, I encourage this. I've been wanting to talk about it.
You want to hear a Dollar General story? Okay, so a couple years back, Garth Brooks released a vinyl box set on to like Walmart, but also to Dollar General, and it's like 5 of the record, or 4 or 5 of the records from the 90s, and maybe like a live record or something like that. And I didn't know about it until just probably 4 or 5 months ago, and I'd seen something happen on Twitter where BJ Barham was talking about it. And so then I was like, well, fuck, let me start looking at these Dollar Generals. And that day I go and like look, and I can't find this box set anywhere. And I go to like 3 or 4 Dollar Generals. One day though, about a week later, I go in and there's like 3 box sets for like $20 up on like the top shelf. So I bought them all and then sold the rest.
There you go.
So yeah, $20 for some Garth Brooks on vinyl. I don't think you can beat that.
Dude, that's finally something of value at a Dollar General. I was gonna say, well, the thing that really grinds my gears is I feel like to be called Dollar General, it ain't cheap. Like I went to Dollar General thinking I'd get a deal. It's like, dude, I could have well just went to Kroger. This is a little bit of BS. People ain't living up to the name.
Yeah, well, and it's everything smaller too.
That's why people do it. So, more power to them, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I don't even know what to say.
We are endorsing theft from Dollar General.
Yeah, I don't know. You said you weren't going to say anything too bold on here, and I think we're going into that territory here.
If I could be labeled as canceled, that would just it it makes you think that there was ever a time I was whatever the opposite of canceled is. So that's kind of a compliment.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be on. They gotta pick you up for a season 2 if you're gonna get canceled. So
Well, gonna end
I
up
would
in,
love my first controversy to be with Dollar General.
yeah, on People Magazine, Dollar General scandal, right up here.
1,000%.
Yeah. So, yeah, this new EP. Let's we'll do that weird, bold, sharp transition back to the EP.
Yeah.
You know,
Speaking
like
of cheap, your EP.
yeah. Well, you know what I was going to say is that, like, obviously you have the self-titled before this, but one of the things that, you know, as far as the difference between the first EP and this is, like, you can see like a sharp, like maturation process, I guess is what we'd call it. Your songs feel a little bit more adult, a little bit more mature, and it just feels like you've, you know, gone up a level, if you will, of writing and whatnot. Did you feel like there was like ever like a moment, not necessarily like if you could pinpoint to one song or something, but did you feel like there was like a moment where you kind of went, oh, okay, like I'm on to something new, something a little bit more what I want to sound like, or that I'm wanting to write about? Was there do you feel like there was like a turn or anything like that, or just looking back?
Yeah. So here's a little bit of insight. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. So I don't even know if I've ever said this. Let's see if I can get in trouble. The self-titled EP, which I'm very, very proud of. I did that with Christian Bush in Atlanta, and Christian's a mastermind, and he really had such a strong creative direction, like sense of direction, and I learned so much from that whole experience. But it definitely was kind of a last minute thing, and there was some like contractual stuff involved. And at the time of recording it, I wasn't even sure if that was going to be a project or an EP or whatever. So as much as I love it, this Slot Machine Syndrome is, to me, feels like mine a lot more. And like I've been writing songs since I was 10. You know, I put out an EP myself when I was 15 that were all songs that I had written by myself. And so like the self-titled, I love it, and I think there's some really cool sounds and fusion that's on there that I'm really proud of to this day and always will be. But it definitely, like, singing songs, like there were a few songs on there that all but one that I didn't write. And not that I'm against cutting other people's songs, but for me, I think I'm such a fan of songwriters and storytellers that for me personally, I just felt kind of disconnected from them. And so like these, you know, there's what, 5 songs on this record, and I had plenty more. You know, I moved to town 3 years ago. I think like right after we had recorded the self-titled, and all I did was write nonstop. I think, and from this batch of songs, "Who I Am" was the first song that I wrote that's on this, and I think that was kind of my moment where I felt super, like, I just felt like I didn't have control over what was going on. I felt like everyone had an opinion of what I should do and how I should do it and how to capitalize on whatever. And, you know, I was still a teenager at the time and felt immense pressure to know what to do and how to do it. And, you know, I think like that when I wrote "Who I Am," that was kind of the moment that I was like, oh yeah, this is why I do this. Like, I wrote a song kind of for myself, and it felt like I put my whole life into perspective. And I mean, you know, I wrote "Love You Tonight" not long after that, and I wrote a bunch of songs, and then, you know, I got to everyone I co-wrote with, I was a massive fan of, and getting to go into the co-writing process, knowing what the future project would and should sound like, I think was very helpful.
Yeah, like Who I Am definitely feels like you are making a statement and kind of, shaking some cobwebs loose, if you will, or something like that, and kind of just, um, breaking through onto stepping forward or something towards
Yeah.
a different, not necessarily a different sound, but where it honestly, like, it feels like, oh, this, as you said, like, it doesn't sound like you're a kid anymore, if you will.
Yeah. I think it was just like, I just felt so much pressure. And for like the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't even enjoying what I was doing because I was just so worried about what other people thought and letting other people down and living up to expectations. And I think like shaking that loose was a huge part of my, like, not to sound cringy or whatever, but my artistic growth as well as just my personal thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think like like it makes sense from like the whole music perspective, but also just where I was in life. Like I moved away from my hometown, was out on my own for the first time ever, and was away from all these things that made up who I was to myself. And so that was like kind of one of the first times in my life that I had to sit with myself and take an honest look at, no pun intended, who I am. Uh, and so, yeah, I think like I just was desperately wanting to make something that I really believed in, regardless of if anyone liked it or not. And so I think that's why this project means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting right there because, I think that, like, obviously you kind of came into uh, some limelight, so into like you're talking about this pressure, the pressure of kind of a career, if you will, at such an early age where, most songwriters, most singer-songwriters, they're not really feeling, they've at 18, 19, they're still kind of working it out where, with no one having a spotlight on them, without like
Yeah.
the pressure of having any kind of, you know, um, any kind of management really, or any kind of like deals or anything like that. And so it's where they can maybe figure themselves out a little bit more, what they want to sound like, what they want to write about before all that comes. And yeah, I can't imagine like the pressure of just being, I always think back, like, what was I doing at 18? I was just going to school and kind of being a shithead, I
Yeah.
didn't really have any real like pressure of what am I going to record or what am I going to do has a super huge impact of what people think of me career
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially like so many of the people that I love and admire, apart from it being because of what they make, it's like so much of just who they are as people and their attitudes towards music and art and stuff. And so, yeah, I think like I just got to a point, man, where like I just felt so disconnected from myself and what I was doing. And um, yeah, it was a weird time. Like sure, from an outside perspective, it should have been like the best time ever. And like I'm certainly not. I'm very thankful for every opportunity I've ever had. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm bad mouthing anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just personally, it put me in kind of a weird spot, and I had to confront a lot of things about myself. And yeah, but I mean, I'm grateful for it. I think like talking about being that young or whatever. I think like it sucked in the moment, but it forced me to look and think and come to the conclusion that this is what I want to do and this is what I stand for and this is what I'm not going to compromise.
Yeah. Well, I think like that's maybe something also that um, artists who have, really, really great voices, which of course you have a really great voice.
Thank you, man.
Sometimes like, people can dismiss the songwriting aspect or kind of like,
Mm.
push people into cutting other songs. Which again, like I don't knock anyone doing that either. Cause I mean, George Strait, look at his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you do have that itch to write, and that's what you want to be. I guess like you don't want to just have the identity of being the singer or the artist. You want that songwriter part too, because if it's something that moves you, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes you can, it can feel like maybe that gets stunted, if you will, if you're not really being, encouraged to go in that direction as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm just, I realize that it's more important for me to like feel like I'm making something authentic and being honest and making stuff that's honest and that I'm proud of than anything else. Like I would rather be unsuccessful making things I'm proud of than be super successful making stuff that I hate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me personally. 'Cause like all my heroes, plenty of them are dead and gone, and they still, I still feel the effect of the stuff they made to this day, and I know like music genuinely saved my life many, many times. I know that's a cliche, but it's true. And so I just think like what we're doing matters more than trying to climb a chart or, trying to make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, it's as you said, like kind of your a lot of your songwriting heroes, your artistic heroes, they may be dead and gone, but like the music still is around, which in turn makes you go, well, you know what? Like in 15 years, the music's still going to be here. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. If the music's still around and it transcends the time and place, if you will.
Yeah.
What did you I guess like with the title track, Slot Machine Syndrome, that imagery is such an interesting, it's because obviously it's not like, something I don't think anyone's really ever heard before, but it feels it's intriguing when you just hear it. Well, when did that kind of come to you as kind of like an idea?
Yeah. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. It's probably a week before I wrote with Brent, and he was talking about a relationship that he had just gotten out of, and we're sort of talking about our shared experiences with that kind of stuff. And it's slot machine syndrome. He's like, well, you put so much into something, and you think like the more you put in, like eventually you'll get like this huge payoff.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of draining yourself. And I just like, number one, I just thought, wow, what a cool phrase. I've never heard the term slot machine syndrome before. But number two, I just thought it was really like applicable to a lot of stuff I've seen in my life. I mean, I had, a lot of friends and family and friends of family that fell victim to abuse and, addictions and all kinds of stuff. And, it's definitely like a pattern. And, I have some sort of extra deeply personal stuff that's gone on in my life that, I relate it to, and stuff that's gone on with family and whatnot. But yeah, I thought like, man, I've never heard anyone sing about that kind of thing, and certainly never heard anyone who can't grow a beard sing about that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it was just, I just thought like, wow, that's a cool phrase. And I think someone like me should write a song that's like that.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously like there's 1,000 songs about gambling and that kind of form of addiction and that kind of imagery. But like, again, like the slot machine, I don't think like there's really, there's not too many songs that are talking about in that relation to gambling and feeding those coins in. And yet it's, still the same kind of the same thing.
It's a cautionary tale, and because that's another big part of it. It's like, I really think that anyone can find something that makes them feel better. And, if you get addicted, and that's whether that's a relationship or drugs or alcohol or whatever, Like if you find that one thing that you think makes you feel on top of the world, better men than I have ruined their whole lives and ruined their families' lives over that. And it's so, but that's like the end of the second verse. If you don't think it's true and it can't happen to you, they'll say you got it. That type of thing. Like, because I didn't want it to come across as I think I'm like above anybody, or like, oh, these people that I've seen, live bad lives, I'm so much better than them. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. Like, any of us are capable of ruining our lives and everyone around us lives.
Yeah, that's the, it's the thing with addiction of, like that first step is kind of admitting that you do have the problem. And if you, if you kind of do that whole thing where this can't happen to me, I mean, like you're, the super denial, it's something.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I don't know. I just thought like the imagery
of
that. Oh, go ahead. What was that?
I think people tend to sort of think they're above it. That like addicts, gross, dirty people. I'm not that. I just do this.
Yeah, that's the, not to necessarily go too far into this, but like my stepdad is a counselor, and he always talks about how, sometimes he's been at like, these rehabs where these people go in who think that the only problem they have is, I kind of did this on the side and I'm only here because, a court order, and I can probably finish this up and then still drink on the weekends or something like that. And typically like that's, not the way you should be looking at it. That's not the way, that's like really, again, like the denial aspect of like, I'm an addict, but I'm not that kind of addict or whatever the case. And that's kind of it's a slippery slope. And it's like also the whole judging aspect of, glass houses and whatnot, throwing rocks. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think the thing that makes it kind of unique for me, and like it's nothing crazy. It's not like my immediate family had some horrific thing, but I definitely had experienced some things and it felt like let down by people that I loved and respected. And I think I fell into that thinking way, way less of them because I was just so disappointed. And so like, I think writing it kind of enabled me to see that perspective a little bit, and in turn kind of helped me, forgive. Because I think in order to really forgive someone, you kind of have to be able to recognize your own capacity to like do evil and do bad.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're so above somebody, it's kind of hard to empathize.
Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly like one of the things that I often think about when it comes to songwriting is, I think all of our favorite songwriters, like maybe like their best skill was always empathy, and understanding other people's perspectives and just taking
honesty,
like that glimpse into other people, like the reason why people do certain things, and not necessarily judging them as a bad person or horrible person just because of something that maybe is uncontrollable for them, maybe something that they actually have, they do have control over, but it takes a second to like just empathize with that person and figure out maybe why there's something deeper in there.
Yeah. I think doing that, is helpful for your own self. If you're able to do that for other people, it's a lot easier to be honest with yourself about who you are apart from all that. I think like from a writer's perspective, I've always just been really attracted to writers that are super honest. Like I wrote Who I Am like almost immediately after listening to Living Proof by Hank Jr. Because I just thought like, wow, this dude was young and feeling pressure. Like the whole song is about feeling pressure and people measuring him up to his daddy and measuring him up to this. And that's what inspired that song really. Because I was just like, how cool is that? And like, obviously I'm not the son of Hank Williams, but I was listening to it and really like resonating with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a, man, that right there, as far as like being Hank Jr., like just like so many people's, you know, opinion of you is, you know, your father. And like, I bet like there's so many identity issues that like he's gone through as far as, you know, trying to figure out, you know, how do, you know, do I change my name? Do I like, how much do I, how do I like,
he was like one of the first child stars, you know, like there wasn't Justin Bieber. Like he was one of the first people to be, he was brought up famous. They were dressing him up like his daddy, you know, when he was a kid. And I can't imagine. I was 18 going, oh, people have expectations of me. This feels weird.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine how that dude felt. And I think like the fact that he was able to, you know, be so honest and upfront about it and, you know, completely change his sound and, in my opinion, like revolutionize the genre in a lot of ways. Super admirable.
Yeah, because it has to be like such a mixed feeling of, you know, wanting to honor legacy and family name and all that kind of stuff, but you know, also like, hey, I'm my own individual self too.
Yeah,
it's such a complex, you know, thing that he probably has gone through obviously his entire life. But I'm sure like there's plenty of other folks who have had famous parents, and I mean, like, you imagine being like the son of Michael Jordan, you know?
yeah. Well, and I think like it's, you know, in a way I've felt this, but to me, if you're that and you're feeling down or feeling pressure about it, you have to kind of feel guilty for feeling bad, because, you know, it's like, well, from an outside perspective, that person's got everything going for them. Like they got this legacy behind them. They got people are interested in them because of this. So they, you know, they don't have a right to complain or feel bad that they, you know, got that pressure. Like that's a gift, which in some ways is true, but you know, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, absolutely. For you, obviously you just mentioned how you know, moving to Nashville and, you know, that obviously like I'm one of these people who thinks that, you know, you may not necessarily like all the music that's coming out of Nashville, but all the great songwriters are in that town. And if they don't live there, they're visiting a whole bunch. And it's that whole iron sharpens iron aspect of it. How much do you feel like, you know, just how much, I guess, how much of your opinion changed once you started getting into these co-writing situations and songwriting groups where you went, oh, this was my opinion on what was this is what I thought was happening here, and then this is actually what it looks like on the inside, if you will?
Yeah, well, you know, I think all my preconceived notions, some of them were validated. Like I found Sturgill Simpson when I was 16, and I was like, oh, I know the secret to music, and all these other people, you know, they don't get it. And so like I had like this idea of like, you know, all these pop country guys that, you know, they just write the same song over and over again. But like I think moving to town and writing with people who have had very successful songs recently, like, number one, there is good music on the radio. And it's definitely given me like a newfound appreciation for more quote unquote mainstream country. But yeah, I had this idea in my head that like these people must just hate what they're doing. And I've met a lot of people who are great writers, who write songs that aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but it's like they're incredible writers. They have really cool ideas. And there's also a lot of people who write, you know, sway one particular side of country that are able to write songs like with me, you know, and I think almost because they haven't been writing as much like quote unquote alt country or traditional country or whatever you want to call it, you know, they have a lot of ideas and they're excited about that. And I mean, I've written a lot of songs that are more like pop country that I'm really excited about and that I think are cool. So I think definitely I've just kind of not, I broke down a lot of that, like, oh, I'm too cool for this type stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously growing up here in Texas, we've always had this like, you know, this idea that Texas versus Nashville, and in a lot of ways, like I think like that any kind of like beef, any kind of like rivalry in that way, it's one to like drive up sales. I think it's probably good for everyone as far as sales goes, but you know, it's not really a thing that the artists ever think about, and it's only like a fan kind of deal. But I always kind of say and challenge people, like the people who you think are writing bad songs, quote unquote, in Nashville, you know, they're still talented songwriters. It's just like maybe you don't like what they're the subject matter or anything like that. There's still stuff like on the radio or by artists that, you know, I'm not putting on every day, but like you'll hear a song and you go, oh, well, that was a pretty good line there. Or like, you know, the alliteration right there was pretty damn good, or whatever or this is fucking catchier than shit. Like there's no way to avoid it.
Yeah. I think like, kind of learning the songwriter perspective too gives you a different lens to view song from, you know, not just as a listener of like what makes me tap my toe, but like the actual art form of it. I think anything that happens, you know, and is helping people and exciting people and making them care about music and go see live shows and buy records, I think is awesome.
What's kind of like your week as far as like when you're writing? Are you kind of one of these guys who tries to write as much as possible? Or are you kind of more on a schedule, or what's kind of like your typical go-to as far as not necessarily you got to hit a quota or something like that, but kind of like your typical output, if you will?
For a long time, I tried to like designate a certain amount of time to writing a day, which I had a lot of cool stuff come from that. Now I more so just take the approach of writing. If I have an idea throughout the day, I'll jot it down. And then I would say probably now only 2 or 3 times a week, I'll sit down and try to, you know, iron it out. But at this point too, I just have like, I got so many songs and so many half written songs. Like I got no shortage of material. But yeah, I think writing is just good for me. Like it's really, you know, therapy costs money. You can write songs for free.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to show them to anyone, they don't have to be good.
Yeah. Well, how much do you feel, because I feel like this is probably a big thing. We always kind of think of writing as like just you sitting down with the pen and the guitar and that's the writing part. How much of it though is like you do get that idea, you jot it down, and then it just kind of stays with you the rest of the day or the rest of the week? How much of that happens where it's just kind of in the back of your mind? You may be on autopilot doing other stuff, but you're kind of working that song out before you actually put it to paper.
Yeah. I think just knowing where you're gonna, with any like story, knowing where you're gonna begin and where you're gonna end, filling it out is so much easier. So I think like the more conceptualized the idea, probably the easier it's going to be written. But I also know a lot of people that are way more meticulous. Like I'm very much like, however it comes out, if it doesn't strike me as weird, I just want it to be as much in my voice as possible. And some people are like very, you know, every syllable has to like mathematically be the same and this and that. And I think I'm just saying stuff over chords, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which, you know, that's country music, baby.
Yeah. Okay, here's a quick little story for you. There's one of my favorite artists of all time is a guy from Lubbock named Terry Allen, and you know, he wrote Amarillo Highway, for if you know that song. And so he put out a record called Lubbock on Everything back in '79. It's a double record, and he had moved out to California and was moving back, or like had wanted to cut the record in Lubbock, and so he finds that a place to cut the record in this place called Caldwell Studios here in town. And at the time, the head producer, the lead engineer was Lloyd Maines, who of course, you know, great pedal steel player and producer here in Texas. And dad of Natalie Maines. And so Terry's showing the songs to Lloyd and the rest of the band, who are all like Maines brothers. And I guess like Terry's also a piano player. That's what he plays on. So he's sitting at this piano and he's playing this song, and it's a little different every time as far as the counting goes, as far as the four measures or whatever. And so Lloyd is trying to teach Terry, like, you keep on being off, and he's trying to teach him the time. And Terry turns to Lloyd and says, "Lloyd, it's music, not algebra."
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just necessary to keep that in mind.
I think both approaches can work, but you know, if you're the guy, if you're making the art, you know which one's supposed to work.
Yeah. And I think like that's the kind of the thing right there, is as far as like Lloyd being that technical mind and Terry being the, you know, just the artistic mind, they both kind of rubbed off on one another as their careers went on. So like it's a little bit balance of both, you know. So
yeah, it goes back to, you know, what you're saying, iron sharpens iron. And they're like, being around people who think about music differently than me, it's always been a good thing. Because I'll either go, I like what they're doing, I'm going to borrow some of that, or maybe like do that if I ever have an idea like this. Or I go, wow, they are stupid and I hate what they're doing. And I will never do that.
Yeah. That's the, you know, when people always ask like what your influences is, I always think like, well, it's probably like everything, because even the stuff you don't like, you know, at least that I don't want to do that.
Yeah. One of my, and I'm sure this is like a quote, but I remember when Christian Bush, you know, when we did that self-titled, the song "Left of Me" that's on there, that's the only song on the record that like I wrote, and it was really the only song at the time that I was proud enough of to like show this dude who has all these, you know, CMAs and Grammys on his shelf. And I like was playing it to him, and he liked the song and liked how it was written and everything. And he told me, you know, good writers write and great writers steal.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so true, man. Like, and what's great for me is like, I listen to so much the country that I just rip off all the time that no one will ever be able to piece together because my music taste is so psychotic. So yeah, man, I think like just ripping off enough things to call it your own is the key.
Yeah, exactly. It's why like I'm sure like it's even at a more rapid pace than this, but every like 6 months or so you'll hear a song and you'll go like, that's a John Fogerty song, or like that's a Tom Petty song, and like it's obviously not, but like that's like every riff you hear, you're kind of going, man, that's like a, you know, a Tom Petty song right there. I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, you know, I think too in country, it's like you hear so many people say like, oh, we want more traditional sounding country. And then you give them a traditional sounding country song. They're like, well, this is just a Merle Haggard ripoff. It's like, dude, you want traditional country. Like, if it sounds like you're ripping off Merle Haggard or George Jones, you probably just did a great job.
Yeah. And then also like, let's obviously like Merle or, you know, Willie Nelson or Johnny Cash, they all had like 50 records too. So like,
yeah.
They
all
covered all like, you know, all the territory up.
Yeah, man. There's a, you know, don't cuss the fiddle, and they're all stealing each other's songs.
Exactly. So yeah. What's your I guess your plans going forward? Are you thinking of hitting the road anytime soon and kind of going out more?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I just got off a little tour with Vincent Neil Emerson.
Oh,
of
Vincent,
who I love that dude. I think he's the guy, and I think more and more people are gonna see it and realize it. Like, he's so stinking good. But yeah, we just did like a whole Southeast thing. We got a couple shows in Texas next month, playing in San Antonio and Austin, and yeah, man, very excited about all that. But yeah, I think moving forward, you know, there's some conversations to be had, and I'll have to probably rob a couple banks, but I want to definitely I have enough songs for a full length record, and I've got like 3 albums that I'm already writing. So, man, just kind of dialing it in and figuring out, what I want to put out next. But I think this is the most excited I've ever been to make music. Because I'm really so proud of Slot Machine Syndrome, and it makes me feel excited to have something I'm proud of and feel is worthy of building off of and improving.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's one thing I've learned talking with musicians and stuff is that, once a project's out, you guys are already on to the next thing, or in your case, the next 3 things. But, it's always this weird balance of here's this new thing out, and we're going to be playing these songs, but I'm already on to the next thing. Let's get on to it. I'm already kind of not necessarily tired of it, but I'm
definitely a little tired of it.
Yeah.
I get sick of myself quick, and we recorded Slot Machine Syndrome last August.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we had it in the vault for a minute, and even now I'm I sound so young. I'm ready to do the next thing. But I also I've had that discussion with people who are way better artists than me. I think probably a good sign, because if I was sitting around going yep, I've done it, I've made the perfect record, then I guess I would just need to quit.
Yeah. Well, that's also you've been around plenty of people who that last song they wrote was that this is the best thing I've ever done. And it's always that the last song you did is what you're most excited about, So
yeah.
It's part of the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Vincent Neil Emerson though. Yeah. He's, seen him a couple times out here, and obviously being from Texas, and that new record of his is, if y'all haven't checked it out just yet, be sure to check that out as well.
Oh yeah, dude, that record's incredible. His Instagram's hilarious, and he's just a great dude. He really is. But yeah, his self-titled record's incredible, and his the one before that, the Fried Chicken and Evil Women.
Yeah, it's
What a title! You think Slot Machine Syndrome's a decent title? Fried Chicken and Evil Women.
Yeah, he the first I heard of him, I was sent his first record. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was before it's offline now. It's off print, I guess. But he still had that song 7 Come 11 back then.
Yeah.
And that song right there, is just hauntingly beautiful in this Townes Van Zandt kind of tradition. Just amazing.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. That was what was cool. Having plenty of conversations with him about Townes Van Zandt and Blaze Foley and Guy Clark. It's cool when, obviously it's, he's not a lot older than me or anything like that, but I've listened to his music for a while, and it's cool to meet people and be oh, they love the same stuff I love. That maybe it all makes sense. But also there's the Texas connection, because I'm not from Texas, but everyone thinks I am because I'm from Dallas. I've had experiences where I've told people, yeah, I'm from Dallas, Georgia, and they're oh yeah, Texas. So I just claim both. Sure, I'll take it.
That works, man. You can just be from both places.
East Texas and West Georgia look alarmingly the same. That's what I've found. So I'll take it.
Yeah, just say you're from East Texas.
I'll double dip.
A little further than people realize, but yeah.
I'm on the West Georgia side of Texas.
There you go, man.
For sure.
It's been really, really great talking with you this afternoon.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate it, and I also wanted to thank you for your tweet, man. It really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, of course, man. I again, if you're talking about the one with the old, if you like Tristan Marez and Randall King, and these dudes, Cody Johnson, I honestly believe that, man. Doing some good things.
Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
Hopefully it got you a couple more people tuning in and buying records.
Yeah, man. Well, buddy, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, and can't wait to let you down.
Okay, that is it for episode 204. Be sure to check out Slot Machine Syndrome. the latest EP by Caleb Lee Hutchinson. Go check out our partners over at the Blue Light Live and Desert Door. Stop on over at the New Slang merch store and get yourself a copy of The Lubbock Way. That's my debut book, just out earlier this year. Subscribe and share with your buddies if you enjoyed New Slang. And yeah, I'll see y'all later in the week for another episode.